Coming up on Tech News Today, Google seems to be recession-proof. Samsung finally has an Android announcement, but it's halfway across the world. And we think we might have a line on Apple's next revolutionary product. All that and Patrick Beja next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Thursday, October 13th, 2011. Tech News Today is brought to you by Slingbox, which just turned your iPad into a television. Slingbox has a new iPad app, so now you can watch your home TV on your iPad anywhere you take it. Check it out at Best Buy or slingbox.com/twit. And by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog. For a free trial and 20% off your new account for 6 months, go to squarespace.com and use offer code TNT10. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Iyaz Akhtar.
I'm Jason Howell.
And joining us from France, Mr. Patrick Beja is back on the show.
And very happy to be back on the show, because some people sometimes might not be, but I am. So I'm saying it.
Some people might not be happy to have you back on the show, or might not be happy to be back on our show.
You turned it around on me, Merritt.
No, really. We want to know, Patrick.
We always like having Patrick on the show because we don't have to bribe him. We don't have to beg.
Yeah.
He
Right.
just wants to be
Not
here.
like
He's
most
always
French.
sitting in his kitchen. That's the thing.
He works through the whole show. He doesn't throw down his tools halfway. It's good.
So basically, I'm very needy podcasting-wise. So
You're very-
yes, that's true.
And you're very not French. Which is why we want to let people know that their perceptions of France are not exactly what everyone would think they are. Look at Patrick Beja.
Look at him.
Look at him.
Look at him.
I really don't know how to respond to that. It's so
Look at this man.
We can respond to it by talking about Rim.
Let's start off the show with a little bit of Rim news. Jim Balsali, was it Jim Balsali actually, or was
No,
it
it was Mike
Lazaridis? Mike Lazaridis put out a video this morning that at the time said we're getting close to being back, but we aren't back yet. And then he got very apologetic.
Since launching BlackBerry in 1999, it's been my goal to provide reliable, real-time communications around the world. We did not deliver on that goal this week, not even close. I apologize for the service outages this week. We've let many of you down. But let me assure you that
But he's able to keep that hair perfect. Look at that guy.
better.
That's amazing.
It's something else.
If they could get the people who keep his hair up like that to keep the network up, he'd have no problems at all.
This video makes me a little uncomfortable.
Later in a press conference, why does it make you uncomfortable?
It's like this, we really let you down.
You can tell he's reading a
wearing kind of this
prompter.
casual,
It can't be in a suit. Like
He was wearing a BlackBerry polo.
He said nobody went home since Monday. They've been working on this for a long time, and he doesn't want to look like he's been at home and been able to keep himself all neat, like his hair's all pretty.
No, I get it. It's good to, be more casual, to be able to talk to the people. It's just, it's an awkward video.
It would have been good if he was like in a bathroom by his pool with a cigar in his hand. Is what you're saying.
We're on it.
Right? Yeah.
Listen, we're kicking.
No, he does seem sincere, and it looks like that they did what they needed to do. Sincerely apologize. I think it's a common thing for you guys in the U.S. And I believe that there wasn't much they could have done to prevent it.
World War II.
You're still holding that against Patrick personally.
Patrick, I think he disconnected Tom.
No, you're right. This is them attempting to do the right thing. What I'm curious about, Patrick, is he says later, he's like, we know you want more communication from us, and we're committed to doing that. Why did they take the time and expense to shoot a video? I mean, it's not obviously a hugely expensive from the look at it, but that is much more time intensive than just putting out constant updates on Twitter, which they were rarely putting any kind of information out at all.
It's when you don't have anything to say except we're working on it. You can't say we're working on it every hour for 4 days. And you're saying taking the time to shoot that video. Come on, it's like one guy with one camera. Obviously,
I'm just
not
saying,
a great
compared to 140 characters saying, we're really sorry, we're getting very close.
Do they have Twitter on BlackBerry?
Because maybe they didn't know they were getting very close. I mean, okay, you're
Well, later in a press
never
conference,
happy.
they announced that the service had been restored. Even then, they said there's only minor issues limited to Canada and Latin America. It seems like the service has come back up for everybody. If you are one of the few people still not receiving your messages, RIM suggests pulling your battery and rebooting the phone. So they are very sorry. You know what? You're right. I shouldn't criticize the guy for going to the effort to make a video and personally apologize. I just felt like that isn't the best way to give us communication. It shows that they're sorry, but it doesn't actually the most efficient and effective way to let us know what's going on.
There's also, if you're giving people constant updates, even if there's not that much to update, if you're doing it on a regular basis, then you don't have to have this somewhat dramatic, sincere apology, because you've already been keeping everybody up to date. Hey, here's what's going on. Here's what we know. Here's what we don't. This seemed like wow, we really sat on this too long, and now we've got to save face and do this very emotional. We've let you down. You're angry. What's that?
A co-message.
Wouldn't that be worse?
Where was Jim Balsley?
I would like to know
he
where
was working the camera. Clearly, that's what he has to do.
They are a team.
I'm thinking possibly. Go ahead.
They weren't providing updates. It felt to me, I didn't follow this extremely closely, but it felt to me like they were saying, you know, twice a day that they were working on it and saying, you know, as precise as they could get.
Actually, the CTO had a press conference yesterday. They got better at the end. But Monday, they hardly said a thing. And maybe they just didn't know anything. But even saying, like, hey, we're still trying to track down the reason for this would have been better.
It could have been following the model of Sony. I mean, it was okay, we'll put out some blog posts or put it out on Twitter, and then what do? The head of the agency, Kaz Harai, went up there and he had a video. We'll do the same thing. I mean, that's what they have a model.
They're just imitating a bad model that everyone hates.
I think that's probably what we're going to see when things get screwed up. The CEO is going to show up like, oh, Reed Hastings did the same thing. We're going to split off our thing. And
he didn't do a video though. He just did a blog.
There was a video about the splitting, not the
right. Not the most
I think
recent.
when there's a situation like this, there's no good way to handle it. There are only, you know, the least possibly bad way.
I think you're right.
That was possibly...
it's not bad that he made the video. I think everyone just wishes it hadn't happened in the first place.
Yeah.
Let's move on to coverage of patent wars.
Dun, 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 dun. I was not ready for that, but here we go. I'll have the next one.
I still like the acapella version better.
An Australian court has awarded Apple a preliminary injunction preventing Samsung from marketing or selling its Galaxy Tab 10.1 in Australia. The Australian case revolves around a patent on touchscreen heuristics. Now, what's interesting about that, Florian Muller told Paid Content, Apple owns those two patents in most major jurisdictions. If other courts also conclude that the patents are valid, they will almost certainly find them infringed by Android. Now, this is still a court case, though. The preliminary injunction just means they can't sell it until the court case is over, right?
Yeah, that's what that means right now. Right now, that means no 10.1s in Australia. And the thing is about this patent, I mean, it is pretty broad. It covers a lot of things. But, I mean, if for some reason Apple was nuts and they said, hey, look, tell you what we're going to do. We can stop. Let's say Apple wins the case. They can say, look, nobody else can sell anything like this in the country. Now, why any company would do that is kind of absurd. They probably would say, Samsung, you can bring it in as long as you pay us this amount of money. Because, I mean, Microsoft's been doing this with lots of different Android manufacturers, Samsung, HTC, Quanta recently. So, I mean, if this actually goes in Apple's favor, I still expect to see these devices to show up.
Apple seeking nationwide injunctions in the United States. That court case happening right now. 4 different Samsung devices involved in that case: the Infuse 4G, Galaxy S 4G, Droid Charge, and the Galaxy Tab 10.1. There's no overlap between these two cases, but they are similar in that Apple is going after Samsung. And the motion for U.S.-wide preliminary injunction is based on 3 design patents and a list-scrolling patent. So they're different patents than the one in Australia. I think the most important one here is the Australian case. Now that they've been granted the preliminary injunction, Samsung has to either come to terms with Apple or win this case. Because if they lose this case, then Apple is going to go after them in every other jurisdiction they can think of, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, that depends on whether other jurisdictions are going to give Australia's rulings the same kind of like credit. I mean, it's unusual for countries to go, oh, yeah, well, this other country did it. They'll look at other precedents. They won't necessarily honor them outright. I mean, the United States.
But that won't stop Apple from filing the cases.
Oh no, it won't. It's going to give them ammo. I would think in negotiations later on.
Yeah.
It probably will stop these other things from being filed. Apple will probably say to Samsung's attorneys, "Hey, look, we got you in Australia. Odds are this country goes with Australia on these particular cases. you might want to start negotiating with us a little bit harder.
Although Nilay Patel had tweeted out this morning, obviously he's following the story. I wouldn't read into the Australia, Apple, Samsung decision on the U.S. case too closely because Australia's patents are much broader than their U.S. counterparts.
Right. It's more. I think you guys are right. It's more of a negotiating lever for Apple. Of course, they still have to win the case. Samsung could pull off winning the case. We don't know.
Right.
They'd have to get that patent declared invalid. That would be really bad for Apple. Patrick, the question I have for you is, when do you want to start our smuggling operation of Galaxy Tabs into Australia?
Well, I don't know if you know this, but France isn't exactly very close to Australia, so I'm not sure I will be able to help you all that much.
But you see, we might end up with a preliminary injunction here, but your injunctions don't regard the tab in Europe, so you can buy them, ship them to me, and then I'll swim them over to Australia.
So, okay, I'll make you a deal. Apparently, Samsung was trying to prevent Apple from selling the iPhone 4S in France. I don't think it went through at this point, but if it does, we can trade.
Yeah,
you
okay,
get me
good.
iPhone 4Ss,
Deal.
I'll get you Samsung products. Deal. Cool.
All right, got it. Let us check the rumor mill.
See?
Look at that.
You like that?
You just have to say it really slowly.
Now we will check the rumor
And you need to have a really long stick to like jab at me while you're saying it.
Wake up, Jason.
You know, you're like 99%, so I shouldn't give you a hard time. LA Times and Wall Street Journal report Apple's meeting with studios once again to negotiate iTunes access on any Apple device. They're not calling it iCloud in these stories, but obviously iCloud would be the natural place for them to do this. The other part of the story that I think is interesting, Apple and Disney both aren't part of Ultraviolet. We talked about that earlier in the week. Ultraviolet is the studio's combination to give you digital copies of any movie you buy. You buy a DVD, you get a copy that you can watch on your tablet, on your phone, on your laptop, wherever. And Gadget reporting that people familiar with the matter could say that they could allow ultraviolet access on Apple devices via an app, which would also bring the media lock-in that we usually get from iTunes and streaming copies of any flicks purchased on iTunes. So there might be some interlocking here where ultraviolet would be able to play on iOS devices through iTunes, and then iTunes movies would be available on any iOS-based device.
Okay, so what's Apple's incentive to say, okay, this makes sense for us, when Apple already provides such a good way for people to watch movies?
So you would think
Well,
that, well, Apple,
if you're in the ecosystem
see,
anyway.
Apple, this is kind of similar to Apple TV. There was an update a while ago in August where you could stream movies back to your, purchase movies back to your Apple TV because it has a limited amount of storage. I think they'd want to do this because that way you'll be able to get the iPhone 3G with 8 gigabytes and you can still stream it. And you can have that same experience on your iPhone, on your iPad. So you're not going, okay, is it synced to my, look, forget the Wi-Fi sync even on these devices. You wouldn't even have to do that anymore. It would be, think of the advantage if they didn't have it. I mean, Android people would be like, look, we have Ultraviolet, we have everything. And what does iTunes have? You have to sync it, and you have to like keep this giant gigabyte file or 2 gigabyte file on your device.
But it also sounds like, were this to go through, that's sort of Apple saying, listen, we think that Ultraviolet is here to stay. We don't think this is going to be a flop. We need to be able to support this because that way people can stay in the Apple ecosystem and use a service that is popular.
I read this as the studio saying, look, we'll give you the rights to make iTunes videos available in the cloud if you'll give in on Ultraviolet and allow greater integration of that. If you'll get on board with Ultraviolet, we'll let you do what you want to do. I don't think Apple has any interest in cooperating with Ultraviolet.
Yeah, because what do they
unless that's the only way that they can get the iTunes streaming that they want, which is the ability to access anything you purchase on any device the way that they have with music right now.
Yes and no. I mean, I think they do have an interest in getting Ultraviolet on their devices because for the first time, it seems like the movie industry has gotten its, I don't know how you say it, but basically it's things together and everyone is on board. Ultraviolet is really extremely inclusive technology. Everyone's going to have it. I'm sorry?
Merritt.
Yes,
that's the word
exactly
you were looking for. Yeah.
If Apple doesn't have it, it is a disadvantage. I mean, it's going to be available everywhere else except on Apple products. Many things are I understand, but not as widespread technologies. And if they do get it, then the Apple platform is the only one where you're going to be able to have both ultraviolet and your iTunes stuff. So they will actually have more than everyone else.
Do you think the studios could be strong-arming Apple into this kind of ultraviolet agreement? Because Apple wants to be able to rent this stuff directly through iTunes. Apple wants that. But is this something the studios could even attempt to try? Well,
basically they say, look, you won't get the streaming if you don't play with us. Absolutely, they could attempt it. What I don't understand is that, as I understand it now, Flickster is streaming ultraviolet movies on iOS devices. So I'm not sure what else they want Apple to do, because Apple's not stopping that. They're already there. I guess they want ultraviolet movies to show up in iTunes and be part of iCloud, devices,
right? So that means Apple TV can't play this Flickster stuff. I mean, the ultraviolet, because
they don't have a they don't have an app.
The OS 10 can't. So if you buy it in iTunes,
OS 10 can through a website.
Oh, through a website. Well, it's a different experience. So that's Apple's kind of thing, where they're like,
right.
They like to control the experience. That's probably what's really in it for them.
Sure. Now, in other rumor mill that's related, Valve software chief Gabe Newell, Valve runs Steam, speaking at the WTIA Tech NW conference this week in Washington, D.C., said, I suspect Apple will launch a living room product that redefines people's expectations really strongly, and the notion of a separate console platform will disappear.
The Pippin 2?
Is that this whole Apple television rumor sprouting up again?
This makes more sense to me.
Separate console.
In other words, you don't. Apple TV is always described as a hobby by Apple. And it makes sense to me if they took Apple TV and built it out into a more functional, more widespread device that they market as the way to watch television. They would need these deals we're talking about to make that happen. So that's the other thing. It may go beyond wanting permission for things to stream on the current suite of devices. They may be trying to get agreements to say, we want to stream everything you have over our home theater device that we're going to put out. And that is something that Google didn't get, which kind of sunk Google TV.
There's an old keynote by Steve Jobs talking about the digital hub where Apple wanted to be in your pocket, in your living room, and they've never really gotten into the living room. I mean, I know I run a Mac Mini in my living room, but that's like an enthusiast kind of thing.
It's the one piece that hasn't come true yet.
Right. They added the HDMI port, so it's kind of like, yeah, we know where you're putting this. You're attaching this to your television, and the Apple TV is kind of getting there. It's very low cost. But I mean, the idea that brings back to that whole Apple will introduce a television. It doesn't, and that never really sounded crazy to me, because the iMac's really huge. They make monitors. How difficult would it be to go, tell you what, the iMac's chin got really thin, and it's a TV now. Like, it's not that hard to even imagine that. So I think it's probably going to happen.
Patrick, what do you think?
I think Apple can't stay out of the living room forever. The question isn't about the hardware, it's about the software. It's about the right way to introduce their technology in the, TV space. And I guess they're not quite there yet, or it would have been introduced already.
Yeah, I think they're trying to come out with the iPad. As iPad was to tablets, this device will be to television. It's the device that succeeds where all of these other consoles have failed. That's what Apple wants. I'm not certain that they're going to be able to achieve it, but the track records show they've got a good chance. So if they can do what they did with music players, what they did with phones, and what they did with tablets to the home theater space, that would be huge.
Well, there certainly is a market there. I mean, I've used my Roku box, for example, for certain things. I've got an Apple TV for other things, but there is no one perfect little box that everything can run through. Then again, if you start getting into cable, that's a whole nother ballgame.
Yeah. No, I think they want to be able to say all the programming you want will be available on this thing, and they won't launch it until they get that ability
or else
to do
it's just another box.
Yeah. Let's take a break and thank our sponsor, Slingbox, which allows you to get everything you get on your TV now on your iPad, because without paying anything extra. You buy a Slingbox, you got to buy that. You got to buy the iPad app. Once you've bought that, you don't pay monthly fees. You're not paying extra. You take your television, even a cord cutter like Sarah Lane could use a Slingbox for over-the-air broadcasts, for DVD players, videotapes. You could use your your laser discs. Stream anything that's in your television system over the internet through Slingbox to your tablet, to your phone, to your laptop. Whatever you want to watch, it's there. Check it out at slingbox.com/twit. Or go see a demo at Best Buy. Slingbox on your home TV, now appearing on iPads everywhere.
Very good point about the over-the-air stuff.
Yeah.
As a cord cutter, I...
Probably not going to do it with Laserdisc so much, but the over-the-air would be
Right, my
useful.
Laserdisc collection is really wimpy these days, but yeah, the over-the-air stuff.
All right, let's take a look at this. Is a Nielsen study, right? Is that this?
No, but Google.
Google announces
some
their
kind of
earnings. That's right. This is
earnings
breaking news. It threw me off. Google, just before we came onto the show, announced their earnings: $9.72 billion in revenue, a 33% jump compared to the third quarter of last year, and about $2 billion more than the street expected. So what was it? After hours trading, Google was up like 7%.
It was up over 7%.
No recession at Google. $2.73 billion net income, up from $2.17 billion a year ago. Google also announced, Larry Page making a big deal out of their products, saying Google Plus just passed the 40 million user mark. So he's trying to combat this idea that nobody uses Google Plus anymore. Google now up to an astonishing 31,353 employees. That's just about 8,000 to 9,000 more than last year. And Larry Page also talking about how 135 million Android devices were activated, up from 100 million 2 months ago. So lots of stats, as you would expect in an earnings call, but looks like Google is going strong.
We also have 200 million users on Chrome. I mean, if they can put everything together, I mean, plus, I mean, the black bar on top of most of these Google properties, I think Google's actually rolling in some kind of way to connect YouTube finally to Google Plus, which is a weird thing that you think should have been there, but it's coming in today. They can really keep people in their whole ecosystem. You're in Chrome, you're like, oh, look, I'm in my little Google Doc, and here I am in Plus. I mean, 40 million people in Plus, though. They didn't say active, did they? They didn't use any of those.
And not only are 40 million people not active, but some of that stuff is spam. I mean, I'm dealing with it more and more every day.
That's true of Facebook and Twitter too, though. It's
absolutely,
apples to apples.
Absolutely. But that's still it's a very solid number. Considering.
So in informal survey, do you guys still use Google Plus? I use it all the time. I love it.
I do. Yeah, I use it.
I use it daily.
You were just reading one of my Google Plus posts right before the show,
which was wonderfully crafted.
I crafted it to help people understand France better. You know what I love about Google Plus is that I get good reaction from people.
Immediate.
I can actually have a conversation. People are paying attention. They're in there. They're responding. It reminds me a little bit of Friend Feed, but for some reason I feel like maybe there's just more people on it, or there's more people who are attuned to the kinds of things I'm talking about. But I've been using it more and more. I still use Twitter, but it's almost replaced Facebook for me.
Yeah, it's almost you remember Plurk, right?
Oh yeah,
which was promising to be Twitter with threading,
with more threads. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it seems like Google Plus got it right on the first try. I really love it. The engagement is like anything I've ever seen on any other social network. So
now,
yeah,
this is still early days for Google Plus. I think what Google's trying to do is get it to break into the mainstream, because 40 million is far short of 700 billion, which is what Facebook has.
And you compared it to Facebook as something that has been a good replacement for you. I can't get rid of Facebook because I have so many friends on Facebook. For whatever reason, Google Plus would not be the place for them. They just wouldn't get it. It's too geeky. It's really not that geeky.
It's not that geeky, but it doesn't do all the things that Facebook does.
I think when you're used to a social network being set up the way that Facebook is and having to go through all of the iterations that Facebook has, something like Google Plus just is confusing to some people.
And a lot of those people that are using Facebook ended up there kicking and screaming, and only ended up there because they had a million other people tell them, "What, you're not on Facebook yet?"
Well, that's where my photo album's going to be. You should get an account.
You had to get there to see it. So if it took that much time to get them to Facebook, it's going to take a lot of effort and probably a lot of time to get them to move to Google Plus, if at all.
Yeah, I really don't think Google Plus, I mean, it's very possible that it will never break into the wider public, but let's not be flippant about 40 million. It took Twitter 3 or 4 years to get to that number. It's a huge number.
Yeah, no, and they've done it very quickly because remember, I think it was September when they opened it up to the public, and that's a really fast rise. And I kind of feel like we were saying a lot of these same things about Facebook back when MySpace was still dominant. Like, well, it's kind of for geeky people, and well, none of your friends are there. Your friends are all on MySpace, so that's why I don't know what that inflection point is, but there is an inflection point at some time that will push everyone into a social network.
Facebook was getting the students, and that's not happening with Google+. It's still sort of niche with the tech people, I would think, in the case of Google+. But yeah.
But yes, in all, good financial news for Google. Everybody was worried that it was going to be maybe just an okay quarter, not a great quarter, and that there would be a lot of guidance about downsizing expectations because of their coming acquisition of Motorola Mobility. Neither of those things took place. As far as I can tell, they haven't said anything about Motorola Mobility bringing down future revenue, and they certainly had a great quarter this time.
Especially all that talk about investing so much in social and giving employees incentives and that being more of a long-term gain but maybe a short-term loss. Looks like a good quarter.
Now, they are being audited by the IRS. They didn't talk about it in the earnings call, but the Business Week reporting that the U.S. Internal Revenue Service is auditing how Google avoided federal income taxes by shifting profit into offshore subsidiaries. And apparently the IRS does this to all companies when they see money going offshore. But Business Week reporting that the agency is bringing more than typical scrutiny to how the company valued software rights and other intellectual property. So keep an eye on that, see if it turns into anything. Other rumor going around outside of the earnings is that Google might start its MP3 store in a couple of weeks. Again, that's just totally unsubstantiated, but the buzz is starting to rise on a Google Music store again. So we'll keep an eye on all of that stuff. Okay, now we go to a Nielsen report that roughly 40% of tablet and smartphone owners in the United States use their device daily while watching television. I definitely do this. I definitely do it, but I don't do it nearly as much as my wife. Eileen is on her phone, on her Samsung Galaxy S2, or she's on her tablet constantly during shows.
And it's not necessarily show related.
No, and
it's
that's
a multitasking thing.
Only about a third of multitaskers use their smartphones or tablets to check something related to what they're watching on TV. The biggest things are what? Email and
email checking social networks.
Surfing for unrelated info, visiting social networks, checking sports scores.
So you mean all those ads that say use Shazam now and the ones that have QR codes, like that's not working? Or there's really vague ads, like where you see, like, there's a giant thing from space coming.
That's one of the few things that does work, because every once in a while, all of a sudden, Eileen's holding her phone out towards the television.
According to the study, that's not happening too often, though. It's like 21%.
Yeah, she may be unusual.
Yeah, so that's a... I mean, I do this. I would constantly have a laptop or a tablet or anything I can have around. Because television, there's very few shows that make me have to pay attention. Like, that's how
Then why are you watching them?
I just like the noise. I grew up with noise.
Yeah, there's casual viewing too. Like there's junk TV that I don't mind checking my email through and look up at it.
See,
from time to
sports
time.
and news are that way for me. But when I'm actually going to spend the time to have a like narrative story on, I'm either going to pay attention to it or I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah, like Breaking Bad, I'm not checking my email because I feel like there's so much like
that's a show you have to pay
detailed stuff
attention
you have to pay attention to.
That's exactly what I was going to say. When you watch a TV series, and a good one like Breaking Bad, which I got into a few months ago, you can't be on your phone doing something else. You have to be in the experience.
I don't understand.
I think that this really depends on how, it's like, how are you consuming this television program? I watch Breaking Bad, but I don't have a cable connection, so I don't see any commercials. Like the scene ends, and then 2 seconds later, the next scene starts. And that's a great way to watch it, and it's less than an hour. I don't have time to even go to the kitchen and get myself a glass of water because it's an exciting show. If I was watching this on AMC and there were commercial breaks, I got to have my iPad there because I don't like to watch commercials. But I'm not just going to get up and walk out of the room.
That's usually what I'm doing. Yeah.
And I think that's a habit that people have gotten into where it's like, if you've got the computer next to you, then when it's a stupid part, the commercials that you just want to get through, then you kind of start drifting over to Twitter and you catch up on some stuff. But if people can get around commercials, and a lot of people are trying really hard to do that, then it changes your surfing activity.
So does this give any credence to the idea of those widgetized TVs? Like, do you need to have an email widget up while you're watching Breaking
No,
Bad?
I think it's the. I think this is
always
why
need to have a
those aren't
second one.
catching on, because
Right.
people are like, "Why would I do that? That gets in the way of looking up and seeing the show."
So when
I'll
you're
just-
looking down,
I'll just
that's
have
not
it
in the way
here.
at all.
So, well, no, but in other words,
At
I
least
get
it's
to
not
choose.
competing for screen real
When I'm
estate.
looking at the television with the widget on there, I can't look past the widget. The widget's there. But if I've got it in my hand, I can choose. Am I going to look up at the screen and see an unobstructed view of the show, or am I going to be looking at the email? I'm
What if there was
I'm
a
more in
second
control.
display, a very thin one on the
Are
side?
you getting paid by the widget makers? What?
I'm just curious about it because I've seen it on TV so often. I'm like,
Somebody
who-
has to speak for the
like,
widget.
why are they there? I'm
I
really
am supposed
curious.
to speak for them.
Because it's so easy to see this kind of thing and interpret it
Yeah.
as, well, people then want to do this on their
They
TV.
wanna watch internet on
When
their
in
TV.
fact,
Let's do
it's it's a huge pain in the butt to do that kind of stuff on TV as compared to just
Yeah,
picking
with-
up your device.
Right, with a remote trying
Yeah.
to type in
Like,
things
forget it.
instead of using a touchscreen.
Totally.
All right, let's finish off with a sadder note. Dennis Ritchie, who was the computer scientist who created the C programming language and was the co-developer of the Unix operating system, passed away this weekend, October 8th, at the age of 70. If you use program in or use any program created in JavaScript, Objective-C, C++, Cocoa, Python, Perl, PHP, those things would not exist without Ritchie. So you are using something right now by watching this show that is built on the work of Dennis Ritchie. He was awarded the Turing Award in 1983, the National Medal of Technology in 1999, and I thought James Grimmelman's Twitter post, which I saw on Jenny Jardin's Boing Boing post about this, summed it up best. His pointer has been cast to void **. His process is terminated with exit code 0. So passing of a legend. I thought we had a copy of the C book that he wrote. We have the other one that Kernahan wrote with Pike, but there's an ad on the back for the C programming language. Every programmer worth his salt has picked up the Kernahan and Ritchie book, the C programming language. I actually started a Google Plus thread asking people how Ritchie has affected their lives, and got a lot of great stories from programmers about starting their CS majors, how C was their first programming language. K&R book is one of the best pedagogical works Jonathan has ever read. So anyway, don't want to let Dennis Ritchie's passing go unremarked.
I like that Google Plus idea. See, there you go. Engagement.
Yeah, and some people are taking this as an opportunity to compare people who have died, but that's not what we're doing here.
Not what it's about.
I just want to give Dennis Ritchie his due. Let's move on to the news fuse. Google launched a new version of Google Translate for Android that handles up to 14 languages, including Japanese, Mandarin Chinese, Czech, and German.
Yeah.
You can now talk to the app, and if it mishears you, you'll be able to correct the app before it translates. The new Google Translate is also optimized for tablets, but Google warns that the app is technically still in alpha.
Take that, Siri.
Oh.
The latest data from Gartner and IDC says that HP is still the leader in the PC market and has actually gained a bit of market share year over year. Lenovo passed Dell to be number 2 player in the worldwide PC game. Dell fell to 3rd. Whereas Apple? Well, Apple also wound up being 3rd, but only in the U.S. market, not worldwide.
Senators Al Franken and Amy Klobuchar want to end the confusion about 4G by introducing a new bill that will require wireless carriers to disclose a guaranteed minimum speed and conditions that would affect those speeds. If the bill is passed, the FCC will review speeds of the top 10 U.S. carriers. Maybe one day you won't have to keep track of HSPA+, LTE, or WiMAX, or whatever ridiculous acronym you could come
I can't
up
even
with.
say HSPA plus half the time. I go HPS plus. I
They got some
don't know.
chutzpah.
It's that 4G thing.
Entrepreneurs are looking for bridge financing now to keep their companies going in periods of slow cash flow. Startup financing is also getting increasingly difficult. Angie List, a community of startups and investors, is funding 1 to 2 businesses for every 50 to 100 startups applying. This is all from an article in the Wall Street Journal that has caused a flurry of debate over whether there really is a financial problem with startups in the Valley right now. Speaking of startups, venture capitalist George Zachary says there's going to be a culling.
I think it's cute that you called it Angie List, but it's Angel List.
Oh, I said Angie List?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Angel List. Yeah, Angie's List is not where you
It's
go
about
for startups. that was just
it
a
was sort of
Freudian
like an angel
mental slip.
fire. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Angel List.
Angel
Thank you
List.
for correcting me.
Yes, of course. We were speaking of Google Plus, singing its praises earlier. Don't get too used to Google Plus the way it is now. Speaking to All Things D, Google Plus VP Bradley Horowitz says, we are absolutely in a feature race. Horowitz also said to expect new features in Google Plus every week this year, and that the current version of Google's social network is just the very basic foundation.
Right, it'll get super cluttered soon. Pegatron received orders to build another 5 million iPhone 4S units, according to the Commercial Times, citing supply chain sources. The company already was contracted to build 10 million, but now it's up to 15. The iPhone 4S sold 1 million units on its first day, and pre-orders on AT&T, Sprint, and Verizon have all sold out.
Pegatron.
Pegatron will be a culling.
I did not say Megatron.
Light Squared announced that the company has found a way to minimize interference with GPS so it can launch its LTE network. We knew that. But in the company's recent press release, Light Squared said the GPS industry, which claimed it would take years and billions of dollars to fix the issue, is wrong. Light Squared's fix should only take a few weeks and just millions of dollars. CNET reports it'll cost the GPS industry as much as $400 million to protect its gear from interference. Light Squared has talked the GPS industry down from saying it can never be fixed to saying who's going to pay for it. So it looks like they may actually slowly be narrowing in on a solution to this.
iOS 5 officially launched yesterday, and it's jailbroken already. You'll have to tether to install the latest Red Snow jailbreak. Apple may have added in some favorites of jailbreakers like Wi-Fi sync and a pretty decent notification system in iOS 5, but there's always going to be those apps that Apple won't allow. So the Red Snow jailbreak won't work on iPad 2 or iPhone 4S, and you'll need a Mac to set it all up. If you have all of that, have fun.
Enjoy.
So that means we're going to possibly see Siri on iPhone 4 sometime soon? That would be cool.
That's impossible. It would work already if it could, right, Tom? Right?
I wonder, because the Siri app stopped working, or will stop working tomorrow, at least according to the notification. It may be that you can't hack around it unless you spoof yourself as an iPhone 4S somehow.
Hooray for spoofing. The Cyanogen Mod team released the Lower Your Expectations edition, that's their name, not ours, of Android for the HP touchpad. It took a bit over a month, and the team warns this version of Android is an alpha, and there may be issues with the camera, sound, Wi-Fi. Actually said the list is actually longer than they could write in the FAQ. However, multi-boot is near completion, so it may be stable enough for you to jump back to WebOS if the experience is just too buggy for you.
All right, let's move on to the randomizer.
Randomizer.
I had a lot of fun last night just reading. There are actually several articles about things people are making Siri say. Joshua Topolsky's over at This Is My Next probably had the best one. I need to hide a body. Siri responded with, what kind of place are you looking for? Reservoirs, metal foundries, mines, dumps, or swamps?
Siri's got a sense of humor.
Is it a sense of humor?
Well, it's being very helpful.
It's just being very helpful. When Joshua said, open the pod bay doors, Siri responded, I'm sorry, Joshua. I'm afraid I can't do that. Are you happy now?
I actually asked Siri this morning, Siri, what do you think of my cat, Sam? And Siri said, Sarah, I'd like to answer that, but my opinion really doesn't matter.
Wow.
Oh, it's okay, Siri.
That's a very Eliza answer.
Yeah. Siri actually said MG because it's his phone. But that's really what it said.
Joshua said, who's your daddy? Siri said, you are. Can we get back to work now?
The Tumblr blogs that will launch.
Yes. It has a lot of different answers to what is the meaning of life.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these. Like
42, obviously, is the one you'd expect.
This is one I wouldn't expect. Try and be nice to people. Avoid eating fat. Read a good book every now and then. Get some walking in. And try to live together in peace and harmony with people of all creeds and nations.
That's a quote from somebody.
I like everything about the no fat part because that's no way to live at all. You need fat.
Wow. Heavy.
Did you write this?
No.
Heavy, get it? Fat.
Yeah. Oh, zing.
Zing. Anyway, once you get your iPhone 4S, you can play around with this. Yeah, it is really cool.
I mean, we all know this is just, it's just phrases that it's been set to respond to, but still, it's the kind of little thing that makes you smile and have fun, and it's really cool. I love it.
Siri, how is Babby formed?
Yeah,
I really want to know.
In the comments on This Is My Next, and thanks for reminding me, Ken from Chicago, they point out that a lot of these responses are the same ones you would get on Wolfram Alpha, and Siri does pull a lot of its data from Wolfram Alpha. So it may not be Siri you're thanking for this. It may be Wolfram Alpha that's providing a lot of this fun stuff.
Thanks, Wolf.
All right, before we get to the calendar, quick thanks to our other sponsor, Squarespace.com. I'm going to get all Steve Gibson on you and read a testimonial. Who is this from? I can't remember suddenly. Chris Chris wrote in and said, just wanted to let you know about a site I made while eating the best, and I mean best, Chicago dog in or out of Chicago. I made the site on Squarespace, showed it to the owner, and his mind was blown. Got the domain and sold him the whole package the very next day. You just have to love the small business with a dream. Check it out, Monster Dog, and it's cut off here, monsterdog.me. Is the website, monsterdog.me. Love the show. Thanks for all your hard work. But this is what I've been talking about, where you can use Squarespace to whip something together that looks good, looks professional, and then all of a sudden you're in business creating websites for people. He turned the keys over to this hot dog place, and now they've got a great-looking website thanks to Squarespace. So thanks to Chris, too, for sending that in. You can do it while eating a hot dog, people. There is no reason for you not to try it out. Go to squarespace.com right now. You don't have to pay anything. You don't have to put in a credit card. Just try it out. Try the free trial. Maybe even import your old blog to see how it looks. If you do decide to keep the service, then use offer code TNT10 and get 20% off for 6 months. That's squarespace.com, offer code TNT10. And we thank them for their support of Tech News Today. On to the calendar.
It's like the new grab and go. Blog and dog.
Blog and dog.
Samsung has confirmed ice cream sandwich event on October 19th. It is going to be in Hong Kong at 10 a.m. Hong Kong time. So that ends up actually being October 18th.
Oh, okay.
At 7 p.m. Pacific time.
So who's going to stay late?
Jason.
What are you, Jason?
Yep. All About Android will be here. We're probably going to move the recording of our show from Monday to Tuesday night. So we're going to cover this hopefully at 7. I think Gina Trapani is going to be part of that, and then we'll do an episode of All About Android after.
Oh, excellent.
There we go.
All right,
That's
so there
awesome.
you go. There's your answer. Eileen, Jason, and Gina.
That's right.
And
that
Ken.
means it's the middle of the night for me. Damn it.
I guess you're just going to have to stay up.
Is that exciting?
Come on, be a pal,
It'll be
Beja.
worth it.
Eileen, Jason, and Ron
need you.
Richards.
That's right.
And Gina.
And Gina.
Will be covering the announcement. That's good.
That's a good crew. I also mentioned that there were rumors that it was going to be part of the AsiaD conference, but apparently it's going to be its own separate announcement before AsiaD starts. All right, Opera 12 Alpha is available today, codenamed Wahoo, which brings not yardware at all, hardware acceleration to Opera. Yardware is something else.
Brings boys to the yard.
It's a milkshake. Shiny. All right. It's available for OS X, Linux, and Windows XP and higher. You heard me right. It supports Windows XP. Windows XP, not dead. Go download Ubuntu 11.10.
Oniric Ocelot.
I was going to say Oniric, so I'm glad that you knew that I was going to say it wrong, so you would help me. Oniric Ocelot. It is available today. You can try it out in your browser. And finally, Pacificon 2011 is running from October 14th through the 16th. That's the amateur radio convention, and Leo is actually going to be there Sunday performing the tech guy with a juggling act, except not with the juggling part. Just the tech guy part.
Time for us to check what's incoming.
Oh,
that is the guy that's incoming.
Yes.
If you were watching the video
teaser.
version. Yeah. And big thanks to, he'll introduce himself now with a video about the things you can do with a 3D printer. I love this video. I want more like this.
Hey guys, I just wanted to follow up on some of the 3D printing stuff you talked about yesterday. This is a spaceship model that I got from a web app called ShapeWrite. What you do is you enter some text on the website and it generates a unique spaceship model that you can download and print or upload to one of the commercial websites. For the Connect stuff, there's a bunch of software tools already for doing 3D scans with the Connect. It's not perfect and it doesn't do beards very well, but it does work.
That is a great beard.
For toys,
I think you printed it.
so a favorite here, it's a 4X size Lego minifig, posable, comes apart and all that stuff. For gaming, this is the candelabra from Adam Jensen's apartment in Deus Ex Human Revolution. Somebody uploaded that like 2 weeks after the game came out. And finally, I've got here the Thundercat Sword of Omens.
I love this.
There's about 17 pieces there. Yeah, so basically, if you can think of it, it actually just might be on Thingiverse to download already.
Wow.
Actually,
That is awesome.
I want a 3D printer now.
So this is, we were
Must
like,
have.
people are going to be really into this. They are way ahead
They're
of us.
already way into it.
That
I
is
should have
awesome.
known. This is something I really want to get into is the 3D printing because
kidding.
there's the pretty much, if you can imagine it, it's there. It reminds me of Usenet in the early days where you would just think, is anybody talking about this? And there would be a news group
I can't wait for DRM to screw this up.
already. The real Tech Night is the username of that fine gentleman. He didn't give us his real name.
Yeah, someone going to knock on your door and be like, hey, where'd you get that Thundercat sword?
The printer might not work with the plan
Belongs
that you
to
have.
Mattel.
It needs to be an authorized Mattel.
Yeah.
Oh, that could be horrible.
Yeah. All right. We also got a call, just a regular old voicemail, but we love those too. 260-TNT Show is the number. And this one comes from Paul about iOS 5.
Hey, TNT crew. I'm calling about yesterday's episode, number 348. Iyaz, you were wondering about what yesterday's download debacle says about Apple's ability to do over-the-air updates. The good news for us is that iOS 5 brings with it Delta updates rather than 100 megabit plus downloads every single time. So hopefully future updates should be a little more manageable. Love the show.
All right. That's a good point. I'd forgotten about the fact that it is not marginal.
Delta updates?
Delta updates mean that they only update the part that is needed to be updated. They used to just wipe out the operating system, put a whole new operating system. Now it is incremental is the word I am looking for. So.
Really hate it when people make such a good point and I didn't think of it before.
Yeah,
it
I know.
Makes me so jealous.
I knew that this was true, and I'd totally forgotten about it. So thanks to Paul for calling in with it. Everybody in the chat room is going crazy right now because Reuters reporting a U.S. judge has said Samsung's Galaxy tablets do infringe Apple's iPad patents, but also said Apple might have a problem establishing the validity of the patents. Those comments come from U.S. District Judge Lucy Koh in a court hearing today in San Jose. Don't know if that means they will be prevented from selling the Galaxy tablets in the U.S. yet, but she has said that the tablets do infringe. So, does that mean they've given an injunction? She did not say whether she would grant the injunction based on 3 other so-called Apple-designed patents.
I think we'll have some patent wars talk tomorrow.
I've got some reading to do.
Patent wars are not going away. Let's check the email.
Bregol says, with a subject line, I support Tom's complaining. Just wanted to weigh in on my support for Tom's complaint. Changing the Windows 8 start screen from a jumble of tiles to a jumble of icons does not make me feel any better. It's the same thing, just in a smaller form. How is that an improvement from keeping my hands on the keyboard, pressing the Windows key, and typing what I wanted to run while still seeing what's currently running? I like to keep a nice, clean, almost icon-free desktop, so seeing that screenshot of a jumble of icons gave me a panic attack and the urge to sweep that clutter of icons into a trash can somewhere.
Preach it, Bregol.
You've got a friend in Bregol.
Yeah, exactly. No, Patrick, you're with me on this too, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't especially dislike the original Windows 8 interface with the tiles, but that one, it's like everything I hate about desktops filled with icons. It irks me very, very much. So I'm with you.
So wait, if it's Mission Control, where you have a bunch of different
apps. I don't like Mission Control either.
No, Launchpad. That's what it's called on OS 10. People love that thing. But they
Mission Control. Mission Control's fine. Launchpad, I hate.
Okay,
yeah.
It's for some reason it feels different. It's not as similar,
it doesn't have a gray background. It's green, so that's
it's the colors and the design and the it feels a little bit cleaner. I don't know why, and it's not. I mean, maybe you won't really use it all that much on Windows. So I mean, I love Windows 8. I just think that aspect of the interface.
I think the keyboard shortcuts, by the way, on Windows still work. You can hit Start and start typing, and you'll be able to access everything. Yeah. Steven Sinofsky's been clear about that because he's a keyboard junkie too. He doesn't want to deal with this stuff, and I'm sure they'll keep. At what point will they just make Windows 8 exactly like Windows 7? Because they keep going back. Like, oh yeah, you don't.
Well, it already is. It's just that Metro interface.
You don't like this? We'll take it all away.
They keep. Well, they're not taking anything away. That's the key thing. Is they're actually just changing what's default, and what the interactions are.
Yeah, I mean the original Windows 8 interface looks great, doesn't it? It's just that version of it, the one with the tiny icons.
Like,
you don't like any of it?
They're trying to be so polite about this, Microsoft. They just feel like, this is it.
Yeah, how dare they try to do what the users want? Actually, isn't that the whole secret of Apple? Is that they don't care about the users?
And how do people love them? There's a cult around them.
Very long debate.
There's no cult of Redmond.
And speaking of users and viewers and people who watch the show, thanks to all the folks at our subreddit, technewstoday.reddit.com, RookieJet22, Captain Kipper, EJ Corcoran, PC Guy 8088, Grizzly82, and more, submitting stories in there, helping us see things we might not see otherwise, and see what kinds of things you're more interested in over others. We don't use it definitively for the lineup, but it does have an effect on where we put stuff and what we talk about. So we appreciate your submissions there. If you want to submit a story to the show, that's the best way to do it, technewstoday.reddit.com. And Patrick Beja, thank you for being on the show. Of your many realms and empires, which one would you like to shed light on today?
Wow, that's so beautifully put. I guess I would say patrickbeja.com, because you will find all the links to everything I do on the internet there.
Excellent. Always good to have you on, Patrick. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
You can find us on the web, twit.tv/TNT. You can email us, TNT@twit.tv, or give us a call. Phone number is 260-TNT-SHOW. Although video voicemails are welcome too. Upload them to YouTube or any video sharing service and just send the link to TNT@twit.tv. Thanks to everybody for watching or listening. Tomorrow, Darren Kitchen will be here for Friday. We'll see you then.